Please welcome to the stage, Goose from Good Game.
Hey! Hello! Hello, PAX. How are you guys going? Average. I'm going to ask that one more time. How are you guys going? Much better, much better. Excellent. Look at you all here. Look at this giant theatre. All right, guys, welcome to the Good Game Q&A, AMA, whatever you want to call it. My name is Goose. And before we kick things off, we thought we might use you guys, if that's okay, for a few clips on the show. Are you okay with that? Two people here put their hands up, so I'm assuming they're not. So just, if we can frame them out of the shot. Awesome, guys. So we're going to do a couple of quick clips that we will use hopefully in one of the episodes. The first of which is we're going to get you guys to say, did you guess the game for this week? You're all obviously aware that we do that segment. I love the audience participation has dropped off. Yeah, we know that. So you're going to have to make it a lot louder when we get the camera rolling and when our lovely crew here is ready to go. You guys are good? Excellent. So on three, guys, can you all say, did you name the game for this week? I'm going to do one quick test, okay? So as loud as you can, on three. 1, 2, 3. That's not bad. Not bad at all. We could use that one, but we can do one more and it's going to be even louder, guys. I want people outside to hear this as well. So on three, did you name the game for this week? 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Excellent, guys. And one more, because next year is actually going to be Good Game's 10th birthday. Yes, thank you. Yes, we're so old. We're getting old. So we would actually love you guys if you'd be willing to give us a big happy birthday Good Game. Is that okay? Excellent. I'm having a dialogue with you guys. This is fun. All right, so on three, if I could get a happy birthday Good Game. You guys are good? On three. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done, guys. Excellent. All right. Now, I'm going to check that these guys got everything they needed. You want one more? I made them applaud to themselves. Okay, one more. Give it a bit of panache, a bit of pizzazz. Come on, guys. Okay, on three, happy birthday, Good Game. 1, 2, 3. This guy down here just went like that with his arms. Brilliant. All good? Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Now I'm just going to make sure the camera and everyone can escape off stage as well. You guys are good? Excellent. And just before I bring out the rest of the panel, we're going to watch a short video of the highlights of Good Game 2015, because it's been a pretty big year for us. So, hope you enjoy, and then we'll bring out the rest of the panelists. Cheers, guys.
Good Game, I'm Barjo.
Yeah. I had one thing to say.
Your name is Hex.
D-I-C?
Dis.
Yeah, that's it.
How long she's been in here for? Time to sit and talk about games for ages. One more, please.
All round decent game. You put that on the box. Decent. Barger from Good Game. But nothing beats the perfectly smooth use of multiple hydraulics.
That wasn't sex face. I was like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, and I totally checked with David.
What's up, David from At The Movies? Are you game for us to use your stars?
I'm game for anything.
The old man stops you with an arcane shield. Please wait, I have many more stories to tell about...
I cast Fireball.
Everybody's dead. All right, guys, best Batman impression, go.
I'm Batman? Yeah, I keep bats.
I'm Batman.
Yes.
I'd like to redo mine.
No.
Hold on.
So yeah, as you can see, it's been a pretty big year. Now, would you please help me in welcoming the rest of our panelists for today? First of all, he turned down an elusive career as a StarCraft player to host ABC iView's only show about esports. Would you please give a big round of applause to Michael Hingers Hing? And keeping things going on the online area of things, he goes by many names. Damp Hands, my brother, and the host of Good Game Pocket. Please welcome Nick Boy, everyone. And before we bring out the two hosts, would you please give a very special round of applause to the creator of Good Game, Spawn Point, Well Played, Pocket, and everything else we're franchising ourselves out into with the EP of Good Game, Janet Carr, everyone.
Yeah!
It's my boss. Louder, louder. All right, and finally, a huge round of applause for the two hostesses with the mostesses. Nailed it. Would you please welcome the stars of Good Game, Barjo and Hex?
Yeah!
Take a seat, guys.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so basically, guys, this is going to be sort of a Q&A session where you're going to be able to put your hand up, and if one of the lovely PAX volunteers will point you out, we'll get you down to a couple of the freestanding microphones, and we're happy to answer any and all of your questions. Guys, pay attention. No, go selfing over there.
Sneaky peen. Sneaky
Sorry?
peen.
Oh, good, we've already started with a sneaky peen drawn on one of the notepads.
It's tradition. No matter what I'm doing, if I have a piece of paper in front of me, it takes about a minute before Hex draws a penis on it.
Excellent.
It's for luck.
Before we do throw it open to the audience, guys, it's been a huge year for Good Game, the Good Game brand, as it were. So I just want to hear in sort of your own words, what's been the most exciting thing you've done or you've got to do so for the show so far this year? Barjo, do you want to kick it off?
All I can think about is Fallout 4. That's it.
Fallout 4.
haven't
Okay,
even
Hex, what
started.
about yourself? I know there was a big game that came out this year you were pretty excited to play.
It's a little one called The Witcher 3.
Oh, yes.
I was waiting for that one for a while. And it was my turn to go to E3 this year, so that was super exciting. Got to experience some cool VR stuff.
One of our artier E3 episodes we've ever done. Did anyone catch the E3 episode?
HoloLens, that was all really cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Excellent. And Janet, our boss. What about this year? It's been huge. We've done live shows, we've got online shows, all this kind of stuff. What's been the biggest exciting part about it for you?
Yeah, I think every year I like us as a team to add something new. And so for this year, adding Pocket and Well Played.
They're talking about us. Sick.
was great. And I think, it was a tough road to get it established at the ABC. And finally we won that battle, and it's great to be able to have a show that we can put out every day that can be so reactive.
They realised the internet existed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Finally.
Yeah. And of course, having two online shows, we have to treat both equally and not play favourites in any way. Not wear branded T-shirts with the host's face on them that you're wearing there.
We did a live show this morning.
Yeah.
There's another T-shirt.
Did anyone come along to
my face is...
Did anyone make it to the Pocket live taping this morning? Put your hand up.
Yeah.
That's quite a few.
Thank you, everyone. I am white. So this is going to suck.
But yes, of course, we don't want to...
Hair white.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, there was your hair wrangler, of course. And we don't want to play favourites at all by, wearing merchandise of any show that we liked in particular, anything like that. It's basically my face, so it does a dual purpose. Nick, yourself, obviously hosting Pocket this year. You've done heaps this year. Any highlights for you in particular?
Getting a job was nice.
Well done. Besides that?
And then 3 hours ago, doing the live show was really fun.
Yeah.
That was awesome. We made 2 live episodes of Pocket on stage this morning, and that was a real blast. That and getting games early. Getting games early is good as well.
Excellent. Get the audience on your side.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
And he is obviously having an esports show now as part of Good Game is a huge step forward because esports are bigger than they've ever been. Talk us a bit about what does it take to make an episode of Well Played?
I am usually I'm spending all weekend watching streams, and then on Monday morning I am digesting that information and writing it, and then pulling together all the videos. And the most exciting thing about this year is about to happen because on Friday I'm going to talk to one of the devs of StarCraft, and I'm really excited about that. So that's in a week's time. That's the greatest game that ever existed. So we're pretty excited about that.
Do you like Craft Star, whatever it's called?
Righto, Space Boy. Go on with the questions.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, we'll throw it over to you guys now. So anyone does have a question, please just put your hands up. And hopefully there's some PAX volunteers that will be able to point you out. Can we get some house lights up?
Oh, there's so many of you.
Hello. Wow.
Oh, wow, it's packed.
All right. So I'm happy for probably the PAX volunteers to allocate which ones they want to point out. And if you've got mics, go for it. I'm going to take
Oh,
a
there's
seat.
the lineup system.
Oh, is there a line?
Where you line up and...
Okay, I take that back. Forget
Everybody
everything I
rush
just
the
said.
mics now.
Rush the mics, rush.
Crawl over the children.
Bum rush the stage.
All right, yeah, sorry guys, do line up in front of those. And yeah, we'll kick it off with a question over here.
Oh, thanks for coming, you guys. There's so many. Can't get over it. Hello.
Hello. Since 2015 saw a lot of video games being remastered, what has been your personal favourite of the games that have been remastered this year?
Hello, there we go. Thank you for your question, guys. Feel free to jump in, anyone, that's why we're here.
I think so many things get remastered. There we go. With the Uncharted one recently, but I mean, they were already pretty great looking games, right? So it wasn't like that much of a jump for the Uncharted games.
Yeah, I think, you know, I loved the Uncharted franchise so much. It seemed almost a little soon to remaster that franchise, but then at the same time, if you go back and play the first one, it's really hard to get past, you know, just the basic movement mechanics when we're used to things. We're so lucky to have things so finessed now. So it's nice to be able to, I mean, when we were talking about it in the review, I was sort of saying a lot of the time people will ask me, you know, should I go and play like the first Assassin's Creed and work my way through because I've never played it before? And, you know, honestly, I'd say no, because it's just such a, you know, step back in time and it's very repetitive and the controls are so awkward. But when they remaster things now, you can kind of say, well, yeah, they've remastered it and they've kind of updated it all, so you can start from the beginning if you want to. Because, you know, when a franchise is good, you don't want people to kind of be turned off it because they go back and play their first game and they're just like, no, too hard.
For me, I think it's probably the Mega Man Legacy Collection. That coming out was awesome because I loved those games growing up, and it makes you realize how bad at games you've gotten because it's just insane compared to what we sort of play now. So that was my most excited one.
Cool, all right, thanks for your question. Who's next? Just on the right-hand side over there.
Where's Darren?
Were you at the Pocket show this morning? We had that same question.
Darren doesn't travel well. He's got a rider, which is, you know, a thing that really important people have, where they have a list of requirements, and they're a little bit too intense, even for PAX.
And he can't make it through the metal detector at the airport.
Also, he doesn't bend, so he can't sit in an airplane seat.
He needs
properly.
the exit row every time.
Yeah.
But isn't Good Game in Australia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in
And he
Sydney.
has rocket boots.
We're
He
in
does
Sydney,
have rocket
though.
boots.
He does have rocket boots.
Look,
Jet fuel's expensive.
we don't encourage him to go out in public because he does scan for noobs, and it can be unfortunate.
Yeah.
And
He'll
messy.
get arrested, basically. Also, he's peeling in the sun at the moment, I've noticed. His face is peeling.
He needs a bit of an
He
upgrade.
needs a bit of a
I think we're scrounging some money to get a bit of an upgrade for him this year. So hopefully he.
A
who knows?
makeover,
We might get
you could say.
we might get some travel modifications or something. But yeah, unfortunately he couldn't make it here. I do like that after we answered, you said, "But aren't you like you ready to debate this?" You're like, I think.
Well, no, they're right. I mean,
He
he's
is
right.
here. Bring him out. Where is he?
He could fly here, but we don't encourage him to come. But what's he in tomorrow's show? Frank and Darren?
Yes, we're doing a Halloween one tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I believe this got confusing because I'm Dr. Goose Frankenstein, and he's playing my monster.
Yeah.
But we just gave up and called him Frank and Darren. So there'll be all these literary snobs out there being like, I believe you'll find the monster was the doctor. And so please don't look into Spawny too much because it's just a reason to dress up.
But it's his best costume yet. I
It
think.
is. He's terrifying. He might scare some kids. Thank you for your question.
I'm a sexy vampire.
If someone just walked in and didn't hear the question, what's in here? Yeah, cool. Okay, another question down there on the left.
Right? Oh, your left, right.
Sorry, yes.
So earlier this year, you guys did a segment on mental illness in gaming. So my question for you guys is, do you have any experience yourselves with mental illness? And how do you believe the gaming industry either helps or hinders mental illness?
I think so that was last year. I think we did the mental health episode. Yeah, it might have been a rerun or something that you saw. Yeah, and that was part of the ABC's Mental Health Week. So that was really a great episode for us to make. We looked at games that dealt with issues of mental illness, and we also just interviewed some people that had experienced it and how gaming had, I suppose, helped them and that kind of thing. So that was really great, because I think a lot of the time, there's a lot of negativity associated with gaming, so it was good to see it presented in a positive light in that way. Personal. I think everyone kind of struggles from time to time. I certainly have. I think if you can connect with people online when you're not really ready to face them face to face, I think that's something that gaming's really great for. If you kind of build strong relationships with people in an online environment and you can kind of work together. And for me, I think the big thing was always escapism. I loved games. I think when I first really fell in love with gaming, the first game that I became really addicted to when I was 16 was an online text-based role-playing game. And that was at a time when I think, I'd moved schools a lot and I wasn't doing very well in the friends department, and it was just a really wonderful world to be in, and I think it was nice that I had that as my kind of solace and my escapism, and it's a time that I look back on very fondly now, I think.
I think in terms of in-games, I feel like there's still like a pretty long way to go in terms of acknowledging mental illness as being something other than scary. This actually came up. I was doing a live stream a couple of days ago of The Park, which is a sort of 1.5 hour long spin-off game from the Secret World MMO. And it's about a woman who has pretty much schizophrenia. And I realized at the end of the game, it just became really exploitative, because it basically tells you to fear people with mental illness. Many video games, there are characters who are bad, and those bad people have a mental illness, and it demonizes it. Obviously, there are people who have mental illnesses who have done terrible things, but the majority of them are not like that. And I think that a lot of games use basically schizophrenia or hearing voices or something like that as a shorthand button to kind of hit and just go, ooh, creepy, look at that, that's really weird. And so I think that until we get past that, it's going to take a while for people to start accepting there's no empathy in those games. It's all judgment. So
it doesn't work in those games either. One of my biggest hates is when you get a villain and they just make them out, like you're saying, to have some sort of craziness to them, and show that they aren't all there mentally or they have mental health issues, but they never explain why. It's like, no, that means that's the evil guy, that's the bad guy.
Yeah, and
then they never back it up. And like, now I don't understand this.
And there's no view of how it is for that person. Like to see the best games, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure they're out there, is looking at it from the eyes of a person trying to cope with that illness, as opposed to like giving in and murdering their entire family or something. Those are the really affecting experiences that I think are helpful.
The review recently of, I believe you guys reviewed Beginner's Guide?
Beginner's Guide.
I think there's an example of a game that looks at a lot of facets of mental health and does a really good job of taking you through the eyes and ears, and sort of makes you feel a lot of the things that you then have to empathize with. So I think more experiences like that are definitely...
Yeah, for sure.
And the game that we reviewed, one of the games we reviewed in that mental health special, I think it was called Actual Sunlight. And that was a really incredible game in terms of showing you what it's like to experience depression from the perspective of that person who's going through it, and the kind of thought processes and I suppose self-deprecating feelings that can really take over. And I suppose it also makes you think about the best way to kind of reach out to people in those situations, because quite often I think throughout that game that character encounters several other characters who don't really help him. And so, whether or not you're going through something like that yourself, if you know someone who is, it kind of was...
Educational,
yeah.
All right, hopefully... Thank you for your question.
Yeah, good one.
Hopefully we have a cheery, happy question over here on the left. Thank you, though.
My question is, at E3 this year, as Hacks has reported, we saw the Minecraft play in HoloLens, which is super cool. So it seems like it's the pattern that every few years we get a new gadget that kind of revolutionizes gaming. So my question is, what's your vision of gaming would be like in 10 years and in 100 years?
It's such an interesting question, isn't it? Like, who know, in 100 years from now, will people even know what Minecraft is? You know, will people even remember Mario? It's so far away. I barely remember the games I played last year. And what gaming will be, like the jump in the last 10 years of visual fidelity is, you know, like we often say when we're playing games, even 15 years ago, you're looking at the box, there's a red dragon on the box, and you look at the computer and you're like, is it fucking square? Is that the dragon? Is that the, oh, excuse my swearing. Is that the fucking dragon? Is it? I can't work it out. So it's just, it blows my mind every year how visually spectacular and engaging these games are now, and have the way they move.
I think the goal, and it's hard because the part of me that, you know, is terrified of, you know, the future of AI and everything and Skynet and all of that is like, you know, fear it, but at the same time, total immersion, you know, there's part of me that just wants to be plugged in and to feel it and feel danger and be there and you know, smell the environment and for it to feel completely real. You know, I think as a kid, I always just dreamed of stepping through a portal into that other world, you know, and never coming back. And so I think virtual reality, for it to get to the point where it felt like you were there, and I don't see how that's possible without, you know, completely removing your vision and plugging you in somehow.
Where would the plug go? Like, if you could pick anywhere.
It'd be some kind of neural cortex, and don't make this gross all the time.
I didn't say it. We're all thinking it. But if the plug's in your head, it's going to get in your hair and get dirty and scabby and stuff, right? So where
No,
would
it'd be like at the base of your neck, like in the
Base of
Matrix
the
or
neck?
whatever.
I think on the stomach, like right in the stomach.
Oh.
That's the best place.
You're going like, nature's given us our plugs, like, let's use them.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. Like, I want to fight. I want to fight a dragon, and I want to be there, and I want to feel it, and I want to, you know, be actually terrified and experience that.
Feel it through the plug.
Just writing that down. I'll say just quick. We just went a couple of days ago and covered, there's an experience in Melbourne that's running at the moment that uses VR and a virtual space and a physical space to walk around. And I, for one, am a massive fanboy of VR. I'm ready to get on board. I know it's very divisive. A lot of people are ready to say, no, it's going to make me throw up. I'm not going to do it. But hopefully it'll pop up in the show soon. But it's being able to walk around with a VR headset negates all that nausea. And suddenly there was a really amazing feeling of walking through a space, turning your body, and it just, I took it off and there was this moment of, this could be it.
Can I just ask, because I've not experienced that kind of walking around thing yet. You know how when you close your eyes and you try to walk and the shadow passes over your face and you do that awkward, like, you think something's going to hit you?
No one knows that because no one does that. People open their eyes if they need to walk somewhere.
No, okay, but if you're blindfolded or something and someone's just like, go, just walk, and you're like, okay, I don't want to crash into something, and you get there, if you walk under a shadow, you instinctually go, there's something in front of me. So you kind of, are you able to kind of let go of that sort of feeling of I'm about to fall down a hole or run into a wall or whatever?
Yeah, within seconds. It was...
Really?
I mean, this experience in particular has a lot of safety mechanisms, but there are some really wonderful feelings that are basically things that they might put a table in the room and just your brain says, don't walk through that table because that's what you wouldn't do in real life. And then you have to jump over this little barrier and you go, no, I'm going to walk through it. And as you do, your body just goes, no. And you sort of spaz out. But equally, there's an area where I was shooting around a corner and I was leaning in and out. And the developers told me afterwards, they're like, you could have just no-clipped through that wall because there wasn't a wall there physically. But everything about that experience was making me behave the way I should in that space without having to, you know, suspend disbelief. So I think the more things we see like that...
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very good.
All we need each is a large empty room in our house that we can use to wander around.
Okay, there are problems.
Had it.
Big house and plug holes. Yeah, we'll sort it out eventually.
All of that and pornography involved is probably what the future of games will be. I'm being serious.
No, they've already. Yeah.
It's already happening.
Who do you think were the first people to invest in that technology? They were straight in there.
That's why we have YouTube.
That was their
because
logo.
of porn.
True.
Games will be driven by pornography in the future as well.
So in 100
serious, it will be.
I think putting things on your face
Oh, yeah.
And locking yourself in there.
No, the goggles.
No.
She means the goggles, people.
I think that is going to be a problem for a lot of people. Just hands up in the room.
Who
is a massive enthusiast for VR, thinks it's going to be the next big thing?
Who watches porn all the time?
See, that's not, everyone's like, that's not 100%.
That guy's
Double
hands
hands
up
up
the whole
there.
time. No, I'm with you, Janet. I've used VR, and I think a lot of it is really cool, but I think there's a big barrier of shutting yourself away from the rest of the people in your house like that. I think that locking yourself off, though I do see, to answer your 10-year question, I think incorporate, like more and more games are becoming more and more people playing together online. So things like Minecraft, you will pretty much incorporate some version of VR with almost every game becoming some way you play with other people in a world. But I still think that it's got a heap of boundaries to get away from wandering around with goggles on and
That's why
not being able to talk to anyone in your house.
Like for me, until it gets to that point of total immersion, that's why I feel like it's not really going to be something.
It needs to be like a contact lens that you can just turn on and off. Like it needs to be that minimal.
It needs to be completely vision impairing. Like you need to replace what you see with that. But I think it also needs to feel like experientially it's happening for realsies.
Yeah, I think everyone should go to the other hall and tell everyone who's making VR stuff to stop wasting their time.
No,
Hey!
no, it's good they're doing it.
Tell them Nick
and
sent you.
Hands up who thinks that in 100 years' time they'll still be playing Mario games. I do.
Yeah,
for sure.
I also think that we could be living in a real-life hell Minecraft scenario where we are digging holes and trying to fend for ourselves, starting from scratch. So there may be no games, just Minecraft for realsies.
An optimistic outlook for the future. Hingers.
But
You've been quiet down there, but Hingers, your opinion? You've been busily writing down something.
I was just going to say, I don't know how gadget related this is, but the two things I think which are going to explode over the next kind of 100 years, definitely, in terms of the kinds of games we're going to be seeing, there's going to be a lot more diversity, I think, in the protagonists and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot fewer or a lot more, I should say, people of colour, women,
a lot less of these guys. Yes. Men with beards, white guys with beards. Yeah, we got to stop being in games.
Yeah.
I lost the crowd because most of us are white guys with beards.
I was waiting for the camera to swing to me and it didn't. I'm like, good. All right. Sorry. There's as many answers, I think, for that question. But yeah, it looks interesting. Thank you for your question. Over here on the right.
Yo.
Hi.
So a lot of people will be watching you guys on iView or on TV thinking, like, I could do that, play some games, give it an 8 out of 10. What's something about your job that they're probably not realizing?
That we're on a 5-star system now. Thank you for your question. No. Bardo Hex, what do you guys reckon? No, the both of you.
I guess just that there's a lot of work goes into making half an hour of television, and we make an hour of television, including Spawn Point. Just in terms of good game. But yeah, so when we get a game, we will play that game and record all of the game footage at the same time. And then when we have all of that footage, 8, 10, whatever hours it is, we then have to go back through all of that footage after we've written the review and then pull out every moment that we want to show in the review. So all of that vision is all hand-selected by Barjo and I. And we sit there and, try and find those moments. And it's an incredibly long process. And I think, it's one thing to say, just sort of play games and talk about them, but in terms of the television production of it all and the footage and all the management of all of that stuff, it's a lot of work and deadlines.
I think it's fantastic now, though, that with YouTube, etc., and the price of cameras and the fact that you can have a brilliant editing system on your PC, which you can, get for very little money.
Or just on your phone.
Oh, there's actually nothing stopping anyone from doing it anymore. There really isn't, and I think that is a fabulous, fabulous thing. And anyone who has actually tried it probably realises how hard it is. I think, camera lenses have a special property that makes them extremely difficult to talk to. And so there's a real skill. I've worked in television for many, many years, and there's not that many people that can convincingly and comfortably look down the barrel of a lens and feel like they're having a really natural conversation. And that is, I think, what separates these guys from a lot of people who might give it a go. But, as I said, the phenomenal success of people on YouTube is so heartening, and I love it.
The thing that makes it such a great job, though, is the fact that we are so involved in the production of the episode. You know, television presenting was something that I certainly never really was interested in. It wasn't something that really appealed to me, I guess. But I loved Good Game, and I loved games, and I was a huge fan of the show. And being able to write our own content and have our own opinions and, put together montages and boss fights and showcase all of that stuff is really fun, and it's really rewarding and just feels really fulfilling when that then goes to air and this thing that you've worked so hard on and these experiences that you've had and talked about and are sharing with people. That's just what makes it such an incredible job to have.
For me, the hardest part's communication. Just, trying to say a line about something and express it in a way that makes sense is harder than it sounds. To be concise and not waffle. Like, I would say the biggest problem with every kind of review thing that isn't working or any kind of gaming thing that isn't working right now when you watch it, it's like, why don't I like this? It's like the waffle and the lack of... I listened to a gaming podcast the other day and they took 15 minutes to talk about a game. So you're a gaming podcast. Get to the point. I think being concise and communicative is the second most difficult thing. The most difficult thing is playing through all those Wii party games that we had to over the years and not just gouging your eyes out with a spoon afterwards.
I think, obviously, a big thing that leads on to that is the writing, because obviously everyone on the team works really hard to write everything and then present that as well. And I think what a lot of the YouTube and internet culture has promoted is this just sort of ad-lib waffling, as you talk about, which can be great. There are some really charismatic people out there who can do it, but they have to chop all their stuff up, and I think there is an art to being able to write something concise, something critical, something entertaining, and it's definitely a skill that I've seen that myself and everyone has had to take on, and you really have to learn how to be good at writing, because everything else will be smoother after that. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the toughest skills.
As someone who is an ad-lib waffler, and that's the entire basis of his show, critical thinking on the fly, but like Janet said, speaking to a camera is the weirdest thing in the world. Like, there's no one there. It's not right. You lose yourself in there. Twitch has shown that there can be really entertaining people everywhere. If you want to get into it, just get a webcam, turn it on, start Twitch streaming, and start realizing how much you have to talk to keep people engaged. It's just constant talking. And once you do that, you will learn how to have a conversation with yourself, but with hundreds of people watching you who can't actually talk back to you.
Because Twitch it's not easy.
No,
I think everyone looks
yeah.
at it as this thing that you just click on and suddenly you're just suddenly this TV star. And I sat there gobsmacked by my webcam playing a game, just terrified that these people weren't entertained, not knowing what to do. I couldn't even play the game right. So I think, for people to get to a level, I overthink things as well.
Goose said to me the other day, and I promise I wouldn't tell anyone this, so he said to me, I don't think my cat likes me.
We don't think he
it's
likes
just because, we hang out and then he runs away and he bites me, and mate, he loves you. We all love you.
When I was on Twitch, he walked behind me, he's like, what the hell are you doing? And there are people on the internet. Anyway. Yes.
I think a really difficult thing I've had to learn since starting Well Played is how to follow Ukrainian people. Because I don't speak Ukrainian, I've never spoken Ukrainian, I don't even know Russian or the Cyrillic alphabet, but so many CSGO streams are exclusively in Ukrainian and Russian, and people just don't bother translating, because why would they? Because the market's over there, and it's really frustrating. So I'm just saying, if anyone wants to teach me Ukrainian, that'd be really helpful. But aside from that, I'm just trying to learn a few words here and there, and it's really annoying.
All right, switch off mic. Thank you, Hingers.
Koreans, they have... That's fine.
All right, thank you for your question. Another one here over on the left.
Question for Sid. Will what happened to the podcast a few years ago? I think it was a long time ago. I don't know what happened to it. But will it return with the expansion of going to the internet and everything?
Grandstand, maybe?
The sport ones, you mean?
No, you had there was a podcast several years ago on the Good Game website.
There was. We did have one which we used to just... It was really in the early days of podcasting, wasn't it? As I was saying, we
She obviously really misses it.
Try and do new things. And It was a bit of a waffle fest, wasn't it?
It was, but it was a lot more work than we intended, I think, wasn't it? Like just finding talent and the stories and on top of the other shows we were making, it was.
That is how we met Darren, though.
Huh?
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, it's all right.
Oh, yeah. Janet, just a FYI, you can't whisper into a mic in front of an audience of people.
That's how we met Darren. Then we did do some with Grandstand. They came to us and said, could we do a podcast about sport and games, which has sort of morphed now into Well Played, which I think was a much more successful effort than we were managing back then. It was something we'd love to do. It really is, yeah.
I think the ability that we have cameras and we have the facilities at the ABC, I think that's what we've turned Well Played and Pocket into. It's almost, that's what our podcast episodes would be. I think essentially we've just got a camera on as well. So
you're stuck with us.
Just don't look at it.
Yeah.
Just listen to it.
Yeah. Ready? Podcast.
I think they're a craft in their own right. Personally, I would love to have a go at one. But yeah, again.
If anyone's interested in a podcast, no, it's fine. I'm not going to plug it here. I think podcasting is great, and it would be really great. Eventually, we plan on, I guess, putting up Well Played and Pocket on RSS feeds. Eventually, right? Once the ABC bureaucracy happens.
Yeah.
Huh?
Hingers, you do another podcast, don't you? You do a couple.
I do a couple. But
Shameless
this is not the
plug.
time. This is not the time to plug it, is it?
Oh, come on, give it one.
Hey, hey, do you guys like podcasts? If you like podcasts, you'll love podcasts. Michael Hing.
There you go. Episode 1.
I have
sounds great,
I have
Michael.
two very quickly. I have one called Free to a Good Home where we go through weird Craigslist ads, and it has a couple of 10,000 listeners, which is pretty cool. And I've got another one called Dragon Friends, which is going to be doing a live show here at PAX. We just found out that Senator Scott Ludlam is going to be a guest, which is weird. He's going to be playing Dungeons & Dragons with us, so come along to that.
Awesome.
There you go.
Can I say also that Barjo has been listening to a lot of podcasts lately and will turn up on a shoot day with some facts that he's learned during his podcast session, of which I would say about 38% are true.
Oh, he gets them so wrong. Because Barjo and I listen to mainly the same podcast, and he'll say a fact, and I'm like, that's not what it was at all.
It's either 10,000 or like 100 million, I'm not sure. But it's big.
In ancient Rome,
or Egypt, whichever one it was.
Did you know that a duck's penis can work its way through a maze?
No, but that one wasn't even a podcast fact. Because we asked him about it, I was like, what podcast? He's like,
that's a duck penis
Yeah, he's like,
fact.
that's just a thing I know from my childhood. I'm like, what was your childhood like? You have this intimate knowledge of like bird penises or cloacas.
He knows
Well, there was like belts make you infertile. You can't wear belts anymore.
No, I see. You don't have to wear belts because they're pointless because they have loops holding up the belt and the belt holds up the loops. You don't need to wear belts anymore. This was
I listened to that as well, and they're talking about it. Where did
Yeah.
suspenders go? Because it's actually gravity pulling them up. You can't get anything by me, mate.
Then there was one where you said there was a hole in the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And that it would take 5 years for us to fly in a spaceship around that hole in the center of the whole universe and reach Earth again. And then you said maybe it's just a hole in the center of the galaxy.
I can't remember if it's universe or galaxy, but the point is,
slight difference.
the point was if you got there and you went around it 5 times. No, you went around it just once, and then somehow got back to Earth. 5 years would have passed.
What you're describing there is the plot to Interstellar. That is what you're describing there.
Mass affecting time, and when there's a lot of mass and a lot of mass being pulled in, time drags on with it because time's not really constant.
If a duck's penis is wearing a belt traveling into the middle of the galaxy 5 times. Podcast, there you go.
This would be a good podcast.
We went on a weird tangent there. Thank you for your question. We'll take another question down there on the right. Right.
How did you guys come along to your jobs? Like, how did you get them?
How do we come along? Well,
sounds like a young person.
I came on in Series 2, and we needed... they put it out on the forum saying Good Game needs a new host, and I wrote a review and sent in a DVD, and then I came in for a grueling 2-hour... We just talked about WoW for 2 hours, about World of Warcraft, which was pretty much my life before Good Game. And... I'd done a little bit of TV before, but like all the auditions are hard. All auditions I've found really hard and stressful, and I get damper hands than Nick in an audition, but Nick has damp hands, by the way. It's fine. And it was actually that was the easiest audition that I'd ever done because it just kind of worked, and that's how I came
I really wanted to give you the job just on the letter because you actually. Do you remember you had something about a rafflecopter written on it? And like he'd written this letter, and it was quite, formal and nicely laid out. And then there was this copter with big arrows, Roffle copter, ha ha ha. I was like, yeah. This is the man for us.
So when you're applying for jobs in the future, just write that.
Yeah. Top tip.
All your
top tip.
CVs.
X, what about yourself?
I've told the story a few times, so I apologise for anyone who's hearing it for the millionth time.
Just the minutes then.
But I studied a bit of acting, and then sort of decided that I didn't really want to be an actor. And I'd been watching Good Game already, so I was a big fan of the show, and the ABC put a call out for presenters for a new kids channel that they were doing, and I was like, oh, that sounds like something that maybe I could do. So they said, make an audition video that's, roughly 2 minutes and something that showcases your personality. So I decided to go to Supernova and go and cosplay and, just run around there because that was something that was authentic to me and I thought would be kind of cool and different. While I was there, and I was dressed as Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, by the way. Awesome. And I saw Barjo there and was like, oh my gosh, it's Barjo from Good Game, and literally stalked him for, a good half the floor, trying to get the courage to go and say hi. And finally did, and I said, oh, do you mind if I interview you for my audition video? And I was so nervous, I forgot to plug in the microphone, so the whole interview I recorded without sound. It was a total disaster. But we got talking about games and stuff like that, and it turns out that, that Spawn Point was just about to start. So they were looking to bring on a new presenter at that point. So it was just really fortuitous timing. At the same time, I was kind of going for this ABC3 job, and Janet gave me a call after I submitted some game reviews as well. I had to sort of obviously show my writing skills as well. So once I passed that test, Janet gave me a call and she said, if you could choose between...
Did she sound like Mary Poppins?
I thought you were going to do the voice.
Between ABC3 and Good Game, what's the one you'd prefer? And I was like, Good Game in a heartbeat, that would be amazing. So I came in for a screen test, and it was super weird. It was like the Twilight Zone. It's like walking onto the set of a show that you love and seeing it, and you always say, how cool would that job be? And then suddenly I was in that chair, and it was really exciting. Then I went and saw Barjo because we, just around the sort of time I'd kind of got the job, and I went and saw Barjo at his house so that we could say hi and meet each other. And he said, if you need to use the toilet and do a poo, flush it twice, because the flush is a bit rubbish and the poo will stay in there if you don't. So you've got to do it halfway through.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it was great to meet you, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Important information.
And then he started a slow clap and was like, you've passed the first test.
There was no toilet.
Yeah.
Nick Boy, what about yourself?
I knew Janet. Janet was the ABC executive producer on a show I created and sort of ran for the last three years before this. And it's just nepotism. Like all television.
No, Nick, I just want to say something about that. Because I was the roast. The roast was the name of the show. Great show. News and current affairs show. Just a fantastic satirical news and current affairs show. And I went along as the new EP. It's a bit scary, going to meet this whole team. They've been going for a while. Going, who's this grown-up coming from the ABC? Going to be really boring. And I walked in, and there is his office, and it's got a Mario mural painted all over it.
The studio was an old garage, and my office was in the back, and it was like the writer's room was a big square, huge warehouse style space, and in the corner was a bathroom, and I renovated that bathroom into an office, and we painted it to look exactly like Mario 1-1 on the outside, and there were portal mirrors everywhere and Tetris stuff on the walls. I was really angling for a job 3 years before I got one.
And I was like, I have to be doing news and current affairs and be all serious.
And Hinger's obviously similar kind of thing in terms of you guys juggling.
Yeah, before this, I was working in like a bridal store in Flushing in Queens until my boyfriend kicked me out in one of those really just crushing scenes. What was I to? How long can I keep this going? What was I to do? Where was I to go? I was out on my fanny. So I went over from Flushing to the...
Okay, we're watching a timer there. These people...
Sorry, yep, I'm done.
Janet, how did you get your job at the ABC?
Wait. Because we're running short on time, that's now the official story of you getting a job. That's Hinger's law.
Yeah.
We found him in a
Spread the
bridal
word. Put it into the
boutique.
Good Game Wiki.
Someone write that up. Janet, what about yourself? How did you start at the ABC?
I had only ever wanted to work in TV, but my careers advisor back in the UK said, forget it, only take people from Oxford and Cambridge, you're not clever enough, go and be a teacher. So that's what I did. Finished my degree, went backpacking, came to Australia, got off a plane, went, whoa, never going home, love this place.
These idiots will hire me.
Toured Australia for a little bit, came back, had to get a job to get some money to go back home through Asia and all that stuff. Got a 6-week contract at the ABC filing. And my job, which was hilarious, was there was a huge room and it was stacked full of files. And they just said, oh, you've got to archive it and all this stuff. And I thought, no one's looked at this stuff. It all dated from the, 15 years ago. I just chuck it all out. It took me 2 days to chuck it all out. I shouldn't say that out loud, should I? Just blinky bill scripts.
So they gave you a job to archive, and your solution was to throw it all away.
Well, it's obvious that no one had touched this stuff. They just wanted the room back. It was good. And so after 2 days, I was like, I've got nothing to do. And then, luckily for me, the person who did all the scheduling for Doctor Who had an impromptu leave, and I was like, I know about Doctor Who, and I became the scheduler for all of the children's television programs. Like, I was a backpacker.
And you were desperately looking for all those Blinky Bill scripts to throw out.
I have looked for them since. They're gone. And then from there, luckily back then the ABC had training programs, and I've been there ever since and worked on Bananas in Pyjamas, GP, Police Rescue. Then I went to News and Current Affairs, worked on Late Line, Full, all those big shows, and then got asked when I was working at ABC2, working on a News and Current Affairs show for them, if I had any ideas for a show. I was a massive gamer, needed to play games at work because I wasn't getting enough gaming time in, and said, yeah, I'd like to make a show about video games, give me some money.
The first thing
they gave you $1,000,
They gave me $1,000 to make the pilot.
Which in television land is like...
And I gave him $200 back. That was the trick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then you set a precedent for like the next 8 years.
Then they gave us $68,000 to make the first series, and it nearly killed us. That was, oh man. That was...
I've gone back and watched that first series.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows.
I don't know, because Nick, the size of the room that you shoot Pocket out of now is the size of the room that we used to shoot the main show.
Yeah, the cupboard.
It was like we could never stand up in shot because the room was so small and we were so close to the camera that if we stood up, it would cut us off here. So we had to kind of like crawl out of shot and be like, see you later.
We always used to hear stories about Good Game being produced in that tiny room, and they would just get more and more far-fetched. Like if Barjo wanted a sandwich, it needed to be passed from the outside to 7 different people around the corner because no one could actually move, and by the time the sandwich got there, it was just like a crust and stuff. It's like, ooh.
Once we were in,
TV's so glamorous.
You couldn't move once you were all in there, weren't you?
It was an occupational health and safety
thing. It was, which is why we got booted out.
The camera we use is on a big jib that has like a weight at the end of it, and if you swing it around in a room that small, it was just like, you risk hitting someone. It was full on.
Take it at the movies in one swing. The entire staff just gone.
What about you, Gus?
I think you guys did a call out on one of the episodes. I was feeling pretty down about my job, and I watched an episode of Good Game, and you guys said we need a field reporter. Send in an audition video, which I actually found my old B-roll on an old little DVC tape the other day, and I realized I had a shocking head cold while I was making this tape. So the auditions went a bit like, they were like, hi, I'm Gus, and I'd be interested in, and I'd fuff up my line and go, oh, and green snot would come out my nose, and I'd just go, oh. And I remember there's a bit, this is beautiful poetic bit where I go, oh, this is never going to work. And I walked off. And I watched that again and went, oh, that's quite soon. That's lovely. So I did an audition video, came up, pretended I lived in Sydney, so I got the job. And, oh yeah, you can't whisper into these. And had some background in doing video editing and stuff like that, so I like to do stuff behind the scenes as well, and that's how it happened.
I remember too, I wasn't there when you came in the first time, and when I came back to studio, Barjo said, oh, Gus just came in, he's going to start on the show with us soon. I said you weren't here because you were doing a big poo.
Oh, yeah.
Did you flush twice?
Always poo. And I was mortified because I'm like, he doesn't know you. He doesn't know your humour. He's going to think I was actually doing a big poo, and that's his first impression of me.
Wait, you weren't? You weren't? All these years?
Everybody poops.
Everybody poops. I hope that answers your question, a long-winded version there. we've just got sort of about 12 or 13 minutes left, so we'll try to get through a few more quickly. So
Quick fire round.
Quick fire round
Quick
here.
fire
Down here on the. Oh, was there another one over there on the left? Thank you. Another question over there.
This is going to be a quick question.
Let's do it.
People always ask you what's your favorite game to play and what's your least favorite, but what was the most mediocre game you've ever played? Like you went in expecting, oh, this is going to be great, and then you just went, oh, well, that was pretty crap.
All right.
Brink. You remember Brink?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, it was so average. I was really excited because they're really cool control mechanic that they're introducing. It was just, it's just everything's average. I feel average.
Yeah, and Haze? Is Haze a game?
Yes.
Oh, Haze, yeah.
Yeah.
The yellow one.
Yeah.
Oh,
the yellow?
Title, even the title's mediocre.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. That didn't suck, but it wasn't great. That's just a thing that I went, is that a video game?
Hingers? Oh, sorry.
Over time, it's just become FIFA. Like, I love FIFA and I play it heaps, but it's just, it's FIFA. Yeah.
The latest Sim City, do you remember the first time
Oh,
we played
yeah.
that? We were so excited, we all got it, we were all going to play online tonight, and they're going to have
It was still, yeah, right. It was still fun, but it wasn't as
then
good
it
as
got
it could
really
have been.
buggy.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
fun in tiny plots that you could connect to one another and always had to be online.
Really mediocre.
This is probably more bad than mediocre, but the Game of Thrones, like the Game of Thrones RPG, I don't know if anyone played that.
Yeah.
It was like not the cool Telltale story one, but there was an actual third person action RPG of Game of Thrones. And I think what happened was when Game of Thrones sort of first became a thing, there was a game developer company that kind of must have jumped in and got the rights and were like, yeah, we can do this, but then they could not do it. And it was just this awful, clunky thing, and all the animations were awkward. Remember Hand on Hip?
Yeah.
It was,
Everyone, they talk for 5 seconds and then just go like that.
It'd be like-
It was the style of the time. Dragons?
And I remember playing an archer character, as I am often wont to do, and the combat was still melee based, but so you were just like up in people's faces firing arrows like this, and you just do it over and over until they die.
Some good suggestions for you there.
Yeah. I think I played Battlefield Hardline, the solo campaign the other day, and I found it very meh. Found it very like a bad TV show. And so I went to play multiplayer, and there's no servers anymore. There's like no one on. There's like one guy running around a city map on a motorbike, and we stopped and had this little back and forth, looking at each other going, I shot him and I left and I quit, so sorry if you're here. So yeah, there's a couple. Question over here on the right.
Hi. So it's been very common over the past few years that video game publishers such as EA or Ubisoft have become essentially the demons of the video game world with just stuff that they do. I was just wondering, what's your opinions on just that kind of attitude?
What do you mean by demons?
Well, like stuff that...
Microtransactions, buggy games, delayed releases, crap
You
titles, too many sequels.
That kind of stuff. Things like Dwarf Fortress, where they just destroyed a classic game.
Look, I think it's unfair because they're big companies and there's a lot of people making decisions, and I feel like they make one bad decision and then the internet, knee-jerk reaction, stories everywhere, and suddenly it's like, EA did this! But they're a very big company, hundreds and hundreds of people working on hundreds and hundreds of things, it's always unfair, unless... I can't think of like a thing that continued, like there's not a theme to Activision over their last 10 games that I would say, that makes them evil. They screw up sometimes.
I think the thing is though, that they're giant companies and they are here to make money. You buy their game and they think that something in that game made you want to buy it. They put a microtransaction in one game and you buy that game, they think that microtransactions should be in all games. The only way you can actually stop that stuff from working is either they release games that don't work, like Unity. Like Unity happened and then Ubisoft went, okay, we cannot let Assassin's Creed suck next time because our entire Assassin's Creed franchise rides on this next game, whereas that's not how it was with the one before. And Unity was terrible, and Syndicate is really good, and they've learned a lot of lessons.
And they scrapped multiplayer as well. So
Yeah, they streamlined.
We need to
exactly, and so
focus our efforts.
you need to vote with your wallet. You actually need to go, and I know it's really hard because of the internet echo chamber. But if you don't like a game, you should not buy that game and go. And then go, oh, I hate this, and I don't like this, but I will pick it up anyway, because who's going to blame them? They want to make millions and millions of dollars. So, that's the only way, really.
Assassin's Creed's a great example because we're seeing Syndicate already. It's getting much more positive reviews. It has a female protagonist as well as the male one. No multiplayer, so they do respond to this kind of stuff.
But it wasn't until they got pushed to the point where it was like our entire company could collapse if this next game doesn't work. That's how important Syndicate was to them.
It can be painful to watch and to have to put up with as well. I totally understand that, and I think there's an element of tall poppy syndrome. Like we see these big companies, and it's just easy to get really angry and vilify them. But as Bajo said, it's right. They are product, and I think we have to be a little more forgiving sometimes. But and you're right. The internet doesn't help when you want to be forgiving. It's easy to be angry. So.
But screw those Destiny dance emotes. It's a rip.
I think
don't buy them, even though they're cool.
When you get a chance to talk to developers, which we've been extremely fortunate and in a very privileged position to be able to do, I think you do get a sense from them sometimes that there's this real turmoil in the fact that they're extremely creative people and they really want to deliver the very, very, very best and innovative or some incredible experience. And there's often these huge pressures of big business on them, like you have to release by this date. We've announced that date. We announced it at E3, it has to happen. And then, that's why I think sometimes we see these massive patches, day one patches, because the release date has to happen and then they're still working behind the scenes like Billio to try and give you the experience that they really want. And I think, that is almost the sort of the growing pains of an industry that generates so much money that have this disconnect between sort of the creativity side of it and then the hard-nosed business side of it.
And that's actually, like you said, where you have your power. You have the money that they want. Don't give them your money, and they will. If Far Cry Primal has the Ubisoft blueprint that you don't like, of go to this area, climb a thing, unlock a bunch of quests, there's weird chests and repetitive side quests and stuff. If you know it has that, and you will know that at least by the day it comes out, don't buy that game, and the next Far Cry will be totally different.
That's a
problem solved.
Problem solved. There we go. We'll take another couple of questions, guys, just on the home stretch. Over here on the left.
What was your most pleasant gaming surprise, where you walked in expecting nothing, but then got something amazing?
All right, Hingers.
Heroes of the Storm. I was really cynical about that before it, and then I was like, oh, this is fine. Yeah.
It's all right. Nick?
I would say Dota. Kind of the same. Yeah. Where I went, I'm never going to like this. This is way too complicated. There's no way I could ever get into this. And I just adore it. Yeah. Play Dota.
Janet?
Definitely Journey, that moment when, you're starting to realise that this AI is behaving really weirdly. It's a real person. And that was mind-blowing. And I wasn't expecting it. I knew nothing about the game before, apart from I knew that I liked that game company's game.